Hi everybody and welcome. This is Seeker bringing you another commentary on a special build I want to bring you today. But first, some information for you guys. So this is me playing starting out in the northeastern position here on Tal'darim Altar. This is me practicing some Protoss, and currently, this game was played in Gold League, and I should probably make this a little slower. Yep. So I've been practicing some Protoss because I wanted to understand the race better and just practice some mechanics, and when I talk to people or when I play my main race, so I know better what the other races are about and how they work. Yeah, so this was one attempt on an account that I usually don't play on. Just to practice some Protoss, and I started out in Gold League, and I'm still there, but I learned a lot so far. So right, so this build is supposed to be about Forge Fast Expand. Pause here for a second. So what I want to show is some ways in which you can play a fast expansion build. And actually I need to go back here, because the build actually starts... Yeah, exactly. Actually, I need to go back completely. Because the build starts right when the game starts, basically. Just a few seconds, and then you need to make choices based on the build you're going. So, the way I'm playing the Forge Fast Expand, and the way I know that people like Whitera, for example, play this build is the following. You build your first few probes, and then on 8 out of 10 supply, you set the rally point to the front choke, to the natural choke. So you can build the pylon there, because the probe will take some time to travel there. So rally that probe there, and then click back on the minerals for the rally point. I think I may forget it this game. No, there we go. And then as soon as the probe's here and you have 100 minerals, you'll build a pylon. And the way, or the location, how you want to build the pylon is... Oh, shame, I can actually click this. As far back as possible, but so that the pylon range still includes the position you want to put the forge in. Like on this map, you always want to put it at the... well, like here you would put it here, like closer to the ramp. Here it's the same, you would put the forge here. On this position you would put it here. I think you get what I mean. So place the pylon as far back as possible, so you have space to build stuff like cannons and other buildings in the front, and and so the pylon is also not easily targetable by roaches or other units from the front. Roaches or hydras, basically. So that's the idea of pylon placement, first pylon. So that's what I do here. The pylon neatly covers the area up to here. I want to build my forge here, and then some more buildings here, then another pylon somewhere up there, and I'll be set. So now what I do is I build more probes. Of course, the first probe who built the pylon goes on to scout the first location. Then I continue building up to about, I think, 12 or 13. Yes. And then when I am at 13, exactly, I could have rallied the 13th probe to the front. That's also one thing that I sometimes do, but sometimes I still forget because I'm a noob. And that's fine for noobs to forget stuff like that, but basically you could do that. So rally the 13th with 13 out of 18 supply, rally it to the front again, and then put the rally point back, otherwise you'll mess up your rally points here. And then build a forge. So at 13 or 14 supply you can build your forge. So it's a forge first fast expand that we want to do here, and that's a build I would only advise you to do against Zerg, because Terran will tear you apart. Haha. So the probe who builds this... have I actually started to record? I need to check quickly. Wait a second. Okay, yes. It seems as if I have done that. I am recording. That's awesome. So, and the second probe who builds this forge here goes to scout the next location. On 4-player maps, that's something you can do, and I prefer to do that. Because some Zergs will just put down a 15 hedge, like here's our Zerg opponent in the bottom right. And some Zerg will just go for a 15 hedge, and especially at lower levels of play. And at the moment, this video is intended for an audience of up to... Yeah, nice block. Exactly, that's the reason why I want to do this. I want to block the hedge as long as possible. So now, my my current thinking is, okay, I wanted to block it at first, you know, so I mess up his build a little bit. That's always great to do. And then I don't really want to block it forever. I really want him to build this. I don't want him to go mass gas and build a roach warren and then give me some headaches with roaches because he can't build his expansion. I actually want to let him build this expansion because I also see that there is no overlord to scout this area. So once he puts down, so now I let him put down the hedge. Come on, leave probe, whoa, leave. Yeah, great. So now I let him build this hedge. And the point is that many Zerg at lower levels of play and also at higher levels of play, they will completely forget to put an overlord here to scout behind the minerals, and they will not scout with anything else as well. So now he is trying to block my expansion here from going down, but I'm getting it down anyways. And now here in terms of Forge Fast Expand build orders and the specifics of it, that's one of the reasons why you want to scout so early. So you can see, does the Zerg opponent have a pull down already? If he's going hatch first, so if you scout him and he doesn't have a pull yet, and you see him putting down the hatchery here, you can't block it or something, or you just let him do that, then you don't actually need to build a gateway or cannon first. You can actually spend your next 400 minerals after this forge and build a Nexus, because what you would need an early gateway and the cannon for is if your opponent would be making some Zerglings. And so to prevent them to run by, you know, and run into your mineral line and wreak havoc there, you just want to have somewhat of a wall off, and you want to have a cannon down. Like here I would put a cannon somewhere around here, and then the whole choke basically is more or less defended. Zergs can run by with 6 lings, but only like 3 or so would survive, and that's not enough to take out your mineral line, so that's acceptable in terms of risk. So I scouted that, he put down his hedge. I know that he has his pool, but I don't expect him to make many Zerglings. So I know I'm relatively safe to put down this Nexus, because also the rush distance is very long. So this is the way, like from my base to the Zerg's base, and he has to run all this way, and there are slow links, and so I can actually put down my Nexus first, because I like going for a macro heavy build. That's something I'm good at, because I'm usually a Zerg player, and I more or less know how to macro, and with Protoss it's also possible to macro really hard. So that's what I'm doing. So I'm putting the Nexus down first. If I would have seen, oh, this pool was relatively early, and maybe he's also not really putting down another hatch now, then I would go for a cannon, and I would go for a gateway next. And if I really need to, I would also put down another pylon and another like gateway, for example, before this gateway finishes, so I can block off the whole choke. And as soon as the first gateway is finished, I can cancel the second gateway and replace it with the cyber core, and maybe place additional cannons behind it, and only then I could also go for a Nexus. Because if the Zerg expands really late, I'm not, you don't have to worry that you're going to be behind, because you build some other buildings first before your Nexus. It's completely fine. You don't need to be one base up against the Zerg opponent. But yeah, as in this case, if you get the chance to expand really early, to put down your Nexus really early, that's the whole idea of going this Forge Fast Expand. I mean, if you would get the chance to not even have to put down the Forge, but put down a Nexus at say like 18 supply or something, or 19 or 17 or so, then that would be even better, because you don't have to wait longer, or you get your Nexus earlier and you can go into macro mode earlier. So the earlier you can get down your Nexus, the better. That's the whole idea of this build, to get your macro going really early and then crank out a really strong push at a relatively early timing to kick the Zerg's ass. That's the idea. So now I know I can put down the Nexus now, and then I'll get additional buildings. And I'm not expecting any Zerglings, so I know I'm relatively safe. And let's see what I do next. I could go for a cannon next, or a gateway next, and then a cannon. Yeah, and the Zerg is being a little annoying here with his drone, trying to steal a gas or make the drone live longer, but who cares? So the thing is, I know that I have a feeling the Zerg's not going to make many Zerglings and annoy me with them. So one way to punish a Zerg fast expanding like this without scouting behind his mineral line is just, you have a forge already, you have it done. So now you can, and I should stop here and point something out first before I continue. So one thing you can do is just, make one pylon and then build a bunch of cannons. Build 2 cannons, and yeah, so they will finish just around the time that the hatchery finishes. Just make sure it's best that if your cannons don't finish before the hatchery finishes. So let it finish first, and then your cannons should finish, because then the Zerg will not notice your cannons until the hatchery is actually done, so he can't cancel it anymore and rebuild it somewhere else. Because as soon as 2 cannons are done and he doesn't have a lot of lings ready and a queen ready, or 2 queens, or even roaches ready, which is never going to be the case, so he won't be able to save the hatchery, or it's going to be super expensive, so that cancelling it and rebuilding it somewhere else would actually be more economic for the Zerg. So that's why you want to let your cannons finish after the hatchery is finished, but just like a second or 2 or 3 or 10 or something, so not much longer after the hatchery is finished, because as soon as the hatchery is done, your pylons are going to be wait, here's the view. Your pylons and cannons are not visible now, because buildings as they build have a really short sight range, so they see actually nothing besides 1 inch around them of where they are building. So as soon as the hatch is done, your buildings are going to be spotted, and then the Zerg can, usually is going to react by pumping a huge load of Zerglings, and he might defend if the cannons finish too late. So yeah, but that's something you'll have to try out and see how that goes for you, how well you can time that. Just look at the build times. A hatchery has 100 seconds build time, and a pylon has 25, and a cannon 40. So basically it would work if as soon as the hatch is halfway complete, put down your first pylon, and then as soon as the pylon finishes, immediately put down 2 cannons, and that means you would you would finish like 15 in-game seconds after the hatchery is done, which is not optimal, but that would work. Or just, as it's 40% complete. You can see it here when it's at 40, you just build the pylon, and then as the pylon finishes, build the 2 cannons, and then you'll be fine. And that will be just the perfect timing. So that's that. That's why I'm doing this. And then next here, the basic build order for the Forge Fast Expand is you put down your Nexus, and then you do whatever else you have to do, like building a bunch of cannons here, because that's really beneficial for you if you can deny this hatchery. And then afterwards, what you want to do is put down 2 gas. Take both your gas at your main, because one of the reasons is that by now you'll have, 19 probes here. 1 probe is standing around here. So I have 20 probes already. And going beyond 16 probes on the minerals, because you have 8 mineral patches, more than 2 on each patch is doesn't give you such a huge bonus in terms of mineral income. So you want to use that to get some gas early, so you can actually benefit more from all of these probes that you have, especially if you were to chrono boost a little bit better than I did. I have 50 energy stored up. Oopsie. So you would have even probably 2 more probes at this point, and then you really want to get your gas, because also you're going to be teching a little bit, and you know, there's a lot of different transitions you can use after the Forge Fast Expand basic build. So that's why you want to take your gas and build a gateway and the cybernetics core as soon as possible, and potentially block off the whole entrance here, depending on whether your opponent is being aggressive or not. Okay, so that's something I wanted to comment on. Now the first cannon is building here. I have the first cannon building here. And this is actually a little bit late, to be honest. They take 40 seconds to build, and you can see it here. Now the Zerg sees it, and the cannons are even only halfway complete. So if he were to pull all of his drones, maybe he could make something happen, but his links were out of position, and he won't get there really before the first cannon finishes. You know, you see, even I had terrible timing actually on my cannons. They were way too late, and that's why the first cannon is even going to go down. But so I built another cannon, and yeah, the Zerg basically has it's going to be really tough to get those cannons down. And he doesn't even react properly in that, okay, he built a queen, which is great, but he's building drones instead of, you know, going for Zerglings in order to kill those cannons. It's really tough to kill those cannons, but here they are positioned such that it's actually doable. So I believe he should have just gone for lots of Zerglings and save his expansion. And I even get a free drone kill. He thinks he can save it with spine crawlers, but it's not going to happen. Alright, so now my wall off is getting completed here. I believe there's only one space here for Zealot to be put here, and then nothing can slip through. And now I'm in full macro mode, so I'm spending all of my chrono boost now on probes. Make sure you don't get supply blocked. Get the Zealot in the beginning, and then what you want to do is get a few sentries. If you want to be relatively safe, just get a few sentries after the cybernetics core is done, and you can even chrono boost one or two sentries. You will have more than enough gas to support that. And here I just want to point out, as you can see, the Zerg was not able to save his hatch here, and the spine crawlers, the two here, are completely useless. He's making a third one, which is going to be just as useless, and he has, I'm up by 20 drones, probes, workers, whatever. So yeah, that's the beauty of the cannons behind the mineral line, if Zergs don't pay attention to it. So exactly, I'm getting out the sentry, and in this game, yeah, what you want to do is, that's something I find I really enjoy using. The strategy I really enjoy using is going mass air, or yeah, in a sense, just going air, going to stargates after opening up with this Forge Fast Expand build. And in this case, actually, I should be taking the next gas here as well, because what I'm doing is I'm getting one sentry, and maybe actually I would like to get another one, because it makes you so much safer, and I should have gotten another cannon or even one more cannon, because I know that the Zerg is not, you know, not really able to expand, so he's probably going to be making some units like roaches like he does. So I'm playing this a little bit unsafe, or actually very unsafe. If I were up against a platinum or diamond player, he would crush me, even though I have this huge macro advantage. The only thing that could save me against the roach all-in would be Void Rays, which is something I'm going to produce. So yeah, it's looking okay for me. And what I'm doing now is just, yeah, I'm getting the gas. You know, you can get them as you go over 45 or something, or 40 probes. You can just get all of your gases and just make sure you saturate your bases fully. So go up to, I mean, you can go up to 56 or something probes, and I think that's kind of the amount that I'll be going for. And here come the roaches. My Void Ray is a little bit late. I have I decided to get 2 Phoenix out first, and as you see, my warp gate timing was a little late, and I didn't really have gates in time, and I have only one sentry, so actually my opponent could come in here and do a lot more damage than what he's doing right now. He could be killing probes here and here, and it would take me a little bit until I would get these units out. But even like this, even with these mistakes, I'm doing relatively fine, and even with only one cannon out. And now I have a bunch of zealots, I have lots of minerals and gas in the bank, I'm mass producing void rays and phoenixes, and I'm going to go and annoy him with those. He's only now making more than, you know, just his initial bunch of drones. Only now is he trying to get an expansion up, which is super late for Zerg. And what I'm doing now is just, you know, mass air. That's one of the interesting transitions you can do after the Forge Fast Expand opening. And what's also beneficial is so you can spend your minerals, just get, you know, another 5-6 gateways or so, just to make sure you can spend all your resources. And just, I like to get charge for zealots, so I can use zealots to spend my minerals on, and I'll just put all my gas into void rays and phoenixes and go and annoy him with those. And then on this map it's great, you can clear out the rocks with your zealots and then just place down your next expansion, because as you can see, I have lots and lots of minerals stored up already. That's because in this game that was the first time that I really properly tried this Forge Fast Expand into mass air build. And that takes a lot of, when I'm not accustomed to a build, when I don't have any practice doing it, then my macro and micro and everything will suffer a little. So that's why I'm storing up so many minerals and gas. But I just wanted to show you the basic idea of this build, and Zerg of course is hugely overreacting here with, or actually, yeah, he's not overreacting, but it's too little too late in terms of anti-air. He was just not prepared and out-macroed hard. So I just wanted to show you the very basics of the Forge Fast Expand. And so again, just to reiterate, because there's nothing interesting going on at the front anymore. So just to reiterate, put down your forge first. Just a pylon with the 8th probe rallied to the front, put down the pylon, go scout with that probe in one direction on 4-player maps. And then keep building up probes. Then the 13th probe rally to the front once again, or even the 12th you could do, but yeah, let's just stick with the 13th. Then put down a forge so that you can begin your wall off. And then with that probe also go and scout in the other direction, so you find your opponent faster, and so you can understand faster whether you can put down your Nexus first, or if you need to put down a cannon, a gateway, you know, if you need to get cannons and complete your wall off first. So that's a decision you want to make, so that's why you need to scout. So if you see the Zerg, if he doesn't have a pool at all yet, and you have over 15 or something supply, then you know, okay, he must be placing an expansion, usually at his natural base. If he does have a pool, it's this green slimy thingy for those of you who've never really played Zerg. If he does have a pool, just check, does he have gas? So if he's already gathering gas, and you can actually click on the extractor and check how much gas he has mined. So the starting amount is what is it? 2,500? Yeah, 2,500 is the starting amount. So, you know, whatever it says, subtract it. So in this case, he gathered 1,056 gas. Usually you would see something like 2,450. So you know, okay, he's got 50 gas, so he's going for speedlings first. And that means, okay, I should make sure I'm safe. Because he is going to make some speedlings, some zerglings, you know, of the fast kind, and you have to make sure that your ramp, your choke is blocked, and that there is 1 or 2 cannons. And if he's, if he doesn't have that, then you know you're a little safer, and then you can place down your Nexus first, after the forge. So that's kind of the decisions you want to make. And as soon as you found the Zerg with your scouting probes, then you can send one of them back home, and the other you can just leave in the front and just, you know, delay his expansion a bit because he wants to place it down, and so you can maneuver the probe around where he would build the building, the hatchery, because then he can put it down and he has to chase you and stuff like that. Just if you have some APM left, if you have the time left, so to speak, in the game, that you can do, that you can use to do something in addition to what you're already doing with. So, and then as soon as he puts down the hatch, just check, does he have an overlord there, you know, to spot behind the mineral line? Because if he does have not, because if he doesn't, man, my English, because if he doesn't, just, you know, when the hatch is at 40%, so if it's at 40 out of 100, just place down the pylon, wait until it's finished, and place 2 cannons there, and then, you know, enjoy the spectacle that's going to follow in terms of the Zerg trying to scramble to try and save his expansion, and you taking it down, because most Zerg at the lower levels of play just don't know how to respond properly to this kind of play. Yeah, and then from there on, just make sure, yeah, after you place down the Nexus, get the gases really soon, those 2 at your main base, and then just chrono boost your probes hard and go down the regular tech path, and then from there on, as soon as you're, you know, as soon as you have more minerals and you can actually spend on probe production, then just go ahead and place down either some stargates, so that's a really common transition from the, or progression in terms of your game, going into stargates, like 2 stargates, or putting down, like, in addition to the first gateway at the front, you can put down another up to, let's say, 6 gateways, so you have 7 gates or even 8 gates you could play in total. And then as soon as your warp gate tech finishes, also get your +1 weapons at the same time, and as soon, you know, and chrono boost whichever is a little bit behind, so they finish more or less at the same time, and then, you know, play it like a 4 gate, just with 3 more gates, and crush the Zerg. That's usually what works really well, because the Zerg will be a little bit distracted because of what you did to him in the beginning, and then you should be able to just, you know, push him properly with the attack and finish the game at that point. And even if you don't, you have a really strong economy going for you, so you can play it from there. And also, if you notice that he's probably going to be playing really aggressively, just place a bunch more cannons at the front and you should be safe. And also pylons. So, like in this case, this is really bad. Actually, these 3 cannons are powered by only 1 pylon, so he could just kill 1 pylon and the 3 cannons would be unpowered. So make sure you have more than 1 pylon powering the most of your cannons. Yeah, and then you will be perfectly safe usually. So yeah, and there are some other things that Zerg can do against this, but I'll leave it up to you for now to explore that. It's options like drops, it's options like Muta, and it's the Nidus, and maybe some other things. But you'll find out. There are a few more ways or things that you may encounter doing this build, but yeah, I don't want to spoil it for you and take out the fun of exploring what else the Zerg can do to beat you. Because Forge Fast Expand is really strong, so take it and play with it and use it and see what it gets you. Alright, I hope you learned something, I hope you enjoyed it. If you have feedback for me, just leave it in the comments or send me a message or something. You can also find me on Twitch TV or on Team Liquid, always the same nick, which is, or yeah, name I go by, which is Seeker, this one. Yeah, and I guess I'll see you guys next time. I have a few more games of Forge Fast Expands for you. This one was far away from perfect in terms of, if I compare it to where it needs to be for diamond or master level play, but for gold and platinum it's perfectly fine the way I executed it. But I have some more games for you with more information and more entertainment. Alright, see you guys next time. Bye bye.